Hello, Americans, fellow YouTubers of the human species body of individual bodies, with all group differences and demonstration of what we have been forbid, short words per its method, of appreciation of our short words, with the way I'm changed and faked. There's an Aaron Mate who's involved with social media, who looks just like a Joe DiMauro. I'm not saying they're related, but a Joe DiMauro was one of the ones recorded with a John DiMauro, and now with a Paul DiMauro, with wire crime action methods, years apart, but they're connected. Increasingly, people, a whole bunch of people tied to Trinity College, and next to it, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's a DiMauro family with them, with an ILO's kitchen, a DiMauro's Market, and ILO's kitchen have roles with people next to Trinity College, with my neighbors, involved with lobbyists, with some Jewish themed and interreligious spots themed, KKK themed, black themed, Latino themed collusions with some black, white, female judges. Joe DiMauro confessed people with the name. A good girl, he lied to her about himself and others, and with my neighbors and other girlfriends he had. I don't know his girlfriend's name even, the one, but one her friend is named Napolitano. A Ray Collusion and a Joe DiMauro had a former director of the FBI in other countries involved with them, and people next to Hartford Hospital with like DiMauro's Market and Isle's Kitchen. They have been planting evidences with names and locations next to, and a John Mayano has a house there somewhere with family members associated with foreign and domestic intelligence with sequence shifts. His educators involved planting evidences in databases and all sides of crime scenes as collusion, sequence shifts. He has roles with confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed with people on my street. Before they graduated, they had roles of predicate acts and repeated his name to me. He came on my street and begged me to let him drive me to school right after my car was broken. Again, there are proofs that they sabotaged it. He increasingly has roles with all kinds of, like as a Leahy family that fake conversations with me, all kinds of foreign and domestic doctors at Hartford Hospital involved with the names next to them and tied to them, who have also been planting predicate. I never had a class with Joe DiMauro. They tried to make a fake exception with an eighth grade class. I never saw him on a campus except for one time real quick on grammar school, one time real quick at middle school, tied to all along Route 175. He has roles with intelligence involved with a Mr. Neville and people associated with conversations and uses of their conversations with a Thomas Potter and a Mr. Potter. I never had anything but love for him. A Thomas Potter is one of the ones on Facebook. Some ways I instigated a little because, I caught them predicate acts before that. Same ones that have been pretending other on Facebook. These are people with interbranch forging and switching names. Roles with prosecutors and judges consciously with criminally foreign influence, readings of statutes and precedents regarding the validity of what is said on Facebook. And they're lying about what they think about it. That's recorded because they jumped into people's conversations, faking evidences, including they're showing faked evidences to presidents. There are proofs. They've been fabricating conversations, putting transcripts, fake audio and video at Hartford Hospital, and forging names of other doctors. They forged the name of Dr. Shamsi Ali. Never had a conversation with them. And this Leahy family, more than one, there are proofs with the name Brendan Leahy, and that they have women in their family that work with Hartford Hospital also. Increasingly, people tied to a Joe Lombardo, I never had a word of conversation with. And like that fake exception, they try to use that criminally foreign influence, and they hate what came first. A Ray Collusion, a Joe DiMauro, people with the name Lombardo, and Jamie Carone have intercities. A whole bunch of people with. Before I even knew the clothes, before they even moved here, people associated with where they moved from were already in collusions with intimate ties to Wethersfield police families, who are increasingly involved with retired Wethersfield police chiefs, who are increasingly involved with other police forms and their people, planting evidence on all sides of my house. Conversations wise, too. People leaving things out, making things out with confessions as victims against themselves, too. In other words, I just need to get the police on paper, one name in sequence. Let's get the last name of this Inspector Mike with the officer Jerry Miller. Planting evidences on the side of my house, also with Ron Adams, who also brought up the name. He brought up Judge Napolitano himself. The DiMauro and Collusion only recorded, confessed, demonstrate, confirmed. They have people with the name Napolitano they lied to about behind my back, and it has something to do with their roles with foreign and domestic all along Route 3, too, which is conjunctive to the state judicial branch offices, and their roles with fire departments and intelligence families on all sides of the Wethersfield Community Center. Increasingly, people involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against others, and with victims of the World Trade Center attack, involved with predicate acts, collusions with the identities also of America and of Saudi Arabia. Both of them are being and have been used remotely, criminally foreign influence. It's not by accident they bring up things like diplomacy relative to war and leave out how diplomacy has been criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought. With the nature of subject treatments, they have the same old repeated things, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought, all kinds of differences, racketeering roles, worse than war crimes. A former Mayor Gold is increasingly involved with these people, with the name DiMauro and Collusion and O'Brien, with wire crimes and falsified police reports, roles with them as mayors and people tied to mayors, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones at the same exact time. They're educators. They've been that's why they're switching and forging names interbranch. A whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court tied to a Jonathan Mayano involved with sequence shifts with them. Identity theft, fraud, slanders with this Ray Collusion. And I hardly ever saw that. I don't think I never had anything to do with them together. In other words, after they graduated, my class graduated. The reason I stayed back too, increasingly people with Washington, D.C., and people with the World Trade Center tied to a Mike Pandolf, involved with all sides of criminal and civil cases, putting fake sides with the courts too at the same exact time, as ones involved my neighbors with that, and the judges switching and forging names, as people planted sequence shifts in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center right before the attack, and since as the ones involved with Connecticut news collusions, the names next to them. Rick Simpaglione will tell you I never made plans to stay with him to go downtown Hartford. They try to make it look like I knew him. With other people, I don't even know their names. They take pictures of downtown Hartford and put fake ties, fake natures of ties to people. Has something to do with increasingly with their conversations with people tied to Timothy O'Brien, where he walked around Wethersfield having conversations with people and over the phone with his parents. These are also people roles with crime methods where they replace and fake and just totally fake phone transcripts. In other words, and there are proofs that like Joe DiMauro had some girls or something in the background, but the FBI influenced him to do that and how to get a higher, what I caught them doing before that. They hid. That's why he didn't say anything about what I recorded them doing and how I recorded different ways. The Wethersfield police should not have hid from my parents how someone broke into the house and I pulled the gun out. And Tony DiMauro called the police. I could pull the bomb. I pulled the thing back like that. He saw the bullet thing, started crying, called the police. He's increasingly involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, people involved with Koreans. Is one of the things involved with leaders of the kids. And with people from Italy at the same exact time, collusions with them. And people from other countries. As collusions with those same ones involved with home break-ins in my area too. Increasingly, people tied to a Joe Aiello have roles with home break-ins in my area and federal evidences crimes and wire crimes in Wethersfield police and courts that are switching names and forging names as collusions at the same time with overt criminal enterprises and private ones involved with differences rackets, like with people that are Jewish themed too. Paul Zano, he was influenced to go out of his way to repeat the word Jew around me by timing where I was going to be and then make it look. I never responded when him and my friend neighbor were saying the word Jew has something to do with their roles with the intelligence community. A whole bunch of it. I never see my neighbors at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain. Increasingly, people tied to them have been making confessions about their role. They have roles, a whole bunch of Connecticut police departments, and then with other police departments like state police, their family members, one's interstate, at the same time with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, not the way they pretend. Foreign and domestic military, including people from, I never had any words. They might attach me to fake words with people from Egypt. And there's a Kuwaiti general and his family members involved with the Dean Keys and a whole bunch of people with other countries associated with Tunxus Community College. And there are probably intelligence next to them because these are also people with a Dean Judd and all sides of Central Connecticut State University, including a whole bunch of people tied to a Gail King, involved with international and national news and Connecticut news locations and locations next to them, including the FBI next to WTNH, has roles with a whole bunch of people with the family members of the branches that they have family members in each branch at the same time where there are proofs, but all along Route 175 in conjunctions to it, and from the old Wethersfield founding locations, WTNH has been planting evidences with people involved with them, with wire crime acts and methods with WFSB that attach me themselves to fake conversations with themselves and with others, and about the World Trade Center attack. And when I caught them roles with child abuser principal, a Principal Bean, and I caught a whole bunch of other confessions to me, and they prevented me that he recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He was influenced to call me back and leave a whole bunch of messages on my machine and other people saying a whole bunch of fake things and changing things and hiding things, and then change digital crimes. They changed it, hid, and faked what I recorded digitally, and them delusions raw too, but also with more medical and sexual offenders of kids and more employments with prosecutors and judges and their family members involved. That's important because their roles also with the same house with a Rick Cianfaglione, who has been planting evidences, fake ties, fake natures of ties to me, with the intelligence coaching that, with overt criminal enterprise private at the same time, interstates, and increasingly with a Brian Silver involved with the Connecticut District Court, increasingly involved with people with predicate acts against me and their neighbors, involved that with their teachers too. Eric Jensen will tell you he was influenced to repeat the name Kelly Kazmarek to me when I was a junior in high school, and people involved with the location of that class and him they put him in that class for federal evidences crimes. There are increasingly people that I put in my classes who have roles with names of predicate acts on my street, and they had roles with intercities when I lived temporarily at other locations. So in other words, there are other things recorded than they could afford to have discerned. Not one has learned. So even if that is not a person related to an era in Monte, a Judge Napolitano has a Ron Adams who was pretending I was growing pot on YouTube with a judge, a police officer named Jerry Miller, was pretending that he filmed me with a drone growing pot on my porch too, and he pretended that with a Kerr family, or Jerry Kerr per him. There's more than one Jerry Kerr though, and there's a Michael Kerr, and there are more than one people. I don't know if that Michael Kerr has roles with the fire department, because there are other people with the name Mike involved with the fire departments, involved criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. They run into Hartford Hospital to hide live progressions. They have mail and wire crime acts and methods and digital crime methods with a Judge Killian and others with a Leahy family. Whole bunch of people involved with child sex offenders before they got caught. They have digital crime roles with them, drugs and medicines crimes, and delusions and relative delusions. Now these are people with New Britain Superior Court that won't get onto paper, including these people with Hartford Hospital that attach me to fake conversations with themselves through the mail, pretended that to others. They're increasingly attaching little kids and people of all ages to fake communications with everyone around them increasingly. And then they need to pretend that was legitimate roles. I don't know the DeSimone family. The DeSimone family has roles with Newington police families, and their roles report. I don't know the name of the sister of Ray Collusion and his son. His father's name's Ray Collusion too. They have some union spots and spots next to them involved with the FBI and their co-defendants and their family members and their educators. A whole bunch of family members of co-defendants of FBI Director Robert Luskin have roles with predicate acts at Trinity College and corners of streets near me with the FBI and with a Joshua Stryker and confessions of people tied. There's a Jeremy Grohl who brought up a Joshua Stryker and his roles with someone that lives on his street. I never had a verbal conversation with that person ever. I don't even know their name. I don't know if he still lives on that street near this community center in Wethersfield. They have roles with the sides of the community center in Wethersfield with Russians in Ukraine too. And they have these other countries and narratives of this Aaron Mate, who looks a lot like the Joe DiMauro, involved with the John DiMauro too, involved with a whole bunch of different confessions and requests to help to me and others. Even if that was influenced by people, because the FBI makes all sides of and the courts, they make all sides of cases. Then they lie about what they think about the outcome when they time where people can be and have both sides of issues. On a mass scale, this is recorded, and they know they need their shit. That was shown to them to show them they need to hide lie progressions and collusions, all kinds of natures of cases. Like in some superior courts, they're flooded with things. Increasingly, they had collusions with predicate acts with facts methods, and then needing to hide that, including with the corrections offices. The corrections offices has roles with foreign and domestic families involved with differences rackets, and with their educators, and with foreign and domestic military associated with the Joe DiMauro and a Ray Collusion, and people associated with the former mayor Gold and other mayors associated with them with that. So it's important to get them on paper, please, Judge Napolitano. Let's get them on paper in the Britain Superior Court, forging and switching names, refusing to get on paper since I was a kid. They've been stacking predicate acts, fake things in their databases with people increasingly on my street involved in intercities. All sides of Central Connecticut State University has a whole bunch of people when I was a kid, man, when I was an adult, planting fake ties, fake natures of ties to me with people that went to my grammar school that weren't even in my class. And when I have to speak about that, they're lying what I think about others and what they think about me and what they, in other words, they're putting fake ties and fake natures of ties to be between people. They are not letting us speak about where we rightfully need to speak about, where we don't like people or where everyone's great together. That's what they really don't want. The only reason there's a sabotage here because there was something that showed the interbranch and the intelligence that they needed to hide how they were used remotely originally and still. And they have methods that are recorded involved with this. Little sneaky little punk methods where they put things in databases and others make use of that. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought. You should fear God the way they pretend they value their jobs. The experts on things. Vaccines, in other words. Please, Judge Napolitano, do what's right. Get the Wethersfield Police on paper, one name and sequence. They have a whole bunch of people that said they have people that say the cousins with the different last names of the ones named Scalora, who are also involved with the Saudis, that the FBI director and the Connecticut campuses forced collusions with them, including with the Dean Judd and his kid. I never had a conversation with his kid. Eric Burgess is recorded planting evidences with them, switching sequences, making confessions and hiding with that, and begging me not to say about that, and his roles with courts, family members, and what do you call an officer Hunter, who's involved with intercities with Hartford locations, also next to where Robert Cheverie's office was, who's one of the lawyers of a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants, Thaddeus Grabowski, Dominic Lepriata, and a John LeConche. Dominic Lepriata and his family, and a John LeConche and their family and their neighbors, the neighbors of a Dominic Lepriata, are increasingly involved with drugs and medicines, crimes with kids, identity theft frauds with other countries and overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and families associated with unions and the spot next to them, involved with news too, with identity theft, fraud, slanders at the same time, and with overt criminal enterprise, private ones, and terrorists. Let's get them on paper, one name and sequence. Let's get the military stop pretending they're defending their identities legitimately. Are the DiMauros in the military? And if that Aaron Mate is related to the Joe DiMauro, looks just so much like him, better get him on paper too. Judge Napolitano. Let's get him on paper, one name and sequence. New Britain Superior Court. Let's go chop with the Wethersfield Police. They have the Schumack family also involved with their Facebook page and their roles with New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page and the Facebook page of the principal sex offender. Involved with this Joshua Julian, further with predicate acts on my street, with a whole bunch of names tied to him, and the ones involved with home break-ins through the year that are connected. I'll show you. Get them on paper. I don't care if it is an Aaron Monte related to him or not, too. This mopey-looking bastard. Excuse my language. Get them on paper. One name, Judge Napolitano, please.